All right, welcome everybody to the Venice Mace Podcast. The season finale of Survivor's Remorse will air this Saturday at 9 on Stars. The show is a great comedy about a star basketball player and the people close to him off the court. That star basketball player played by Jesse Usher, who joins me now. Hey, Jesse.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Steve?
All is good. All is good. So, I started watching the show because I knew you'd be coming in.
Right.
And then the thing that I just had no idea it would be so funny. This show is funny.
You know, we get that a lot, especially because people, they hear the name and it doesn't automatically ring that comedy bell in your head. It seems kind of serious. So we've heard that multiple times. I mean, more times than not that, it's like, oh, Survivor's Remorse, when they read about it and they kind of
sounds really sad.
It sounds like it's going to be dark and, kind of deep, but it's really not. I mean, a lot of the situations are real, but the fact that, the way the family handles these things that they have to go through is extremely comical. It just so happens.
Now, this show is produced, I guess it is produced by LeBron James and Maverick Carter, who is his longtime business manager.
Oh yeah, confidant, best friend. Those guys, if you see them together, they're like me and my best buddies. So you see that friend dynamic in the show between my character and this character Reggie Vaughn a little bit.
Yeah, you do. You and Reggie. I mean, I've read that, this really isn't based on LeBron and Maverick, but it's hard to look at it and not think that it's at least heavily influenced by it.
I will agree with you on that. Heavily influences words, that I would say myself. It's not, Cam Calloway is not LeBron James. I mean, there's tons of things that Cam does LeBron never has done, or there's tons of things that he does that LeBron has done.
Right.
But that's just because they're living a similar path. They're both professional athletes. They now living a similar lifestyle, and LeBron also became the man extremely early and kind of fast paced, and then he had to adjust, and Cam is doing the same thing. So you see a lot of similarities, but at the same time he's an entirely different person. He has a different background. He comes from a different area, and he has different people around him. So you see a lot of differences, too.
So how did this show come to you? I mean, here's LeBron James producing a show. You've got Maverick there as well. You've got Mike O'Malley, who's been a great showrunner over the years. How'd this come to you?
When I first heard about the project, it was just an audition sent to me through email from my agency. And I knew about the character, but I had no idea who was producing it yet. I mean, they probably sent a slight briefing, but there was really no details about everyone that they had behind, this huge...
So you didn't originally know it was like, hey, LeBron James
I had no idea it was LeBron James and Maverick Carter and Tom Warner and Paul Walker. I had no idea that it was these guys behind the project. I just knew that it was written by Mike O'Malley. I didn't know that Mike O'Malley was going to be the showrunner yet. I just knew it was written by him, and I knew who the director was. I knew it was going to be Ken Whittingham. I wasn't familiar with his work, but, I was like, okay, cool. He's seasoned at least. I looked him up. And then after I read it and I had an idea for the character and the kind of show that it was going to be, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be good. And then by the time I did my second or third audition, I had seen the list of people behind it, and I was like, oh, it changed your whole perspective when you realize, what I mean, the group of professionals that they had behind.
So did you meet LeBron James?
I didn't. I met Maverick.
Okay.
I met Maverick early on. Maverick was there throughout the entire developmental process. I mean, this show is his baby. It was his idea. He did the pitching for it and all that kind of stuff. Of course, he's going to get LeBron, for authenticity, and I mean, he would never have this story if it wasn't for LeBron. So that's kind of how they came together on it. But this is Maverick's baby.
One of the things I love about this show is, and we talk about it all the time, that professional athletes, when they get a whole bunch of money, you can go all Antoine Walker on that. I mean, you can wind up dead, cold, broke. And in this case, your cousin, Cam's cousin Reggie, who's played by
Ronrico Lee,
is sort of he's your guidance through this thing, and he keeps Cam honest.
He is, very much so. He married a very established young lady.
Yes.
Who comes from money. She's been around it. She knows this world very well. So he's guided by her. And he kind of, from that, he has this insight that no one else in the family has. So I trust him, with my well-being and my pockets, basically.
Yeah.
So he's sort of become my manager throughout this process. I mean, he's my most trusted ally, and he's someone who has way more knowledge than me. Although at the same time, he's not a manager per se. He's not a professional. So
he's not. Is he the agent or is he the marketing guy?
No, he's not. He's certainly not the agent. He's more of just a manager for Cam.
Right.
He's very hands-on, and a lot of the deals will go through him, but you can imagine there's tons of times where they're going to have to outsource.
Oh, sure.
For a lot of things that are going to happen with Cam, this new position that he's in, because Reggie's just as new to it as he is.
Yeah.
It's just he understands business a little bit
better.
I
always, and there's this chunk of the show where you talk about how you won an Aston Martin.
Oh, yeah.
And he has this great line. He says, you want to go all Hammer. Because, MC Hammer's another guy who made all kinds of money and wound up dead cold broke.
Yeah.
And I think it raises a really interesting kind of social and cultural issue about the need for professional athletes to kind of show off through what they buy and what they own and what they possess and the road that ultimately leads to.
Yeah, it's more common than not, especially in basketball, in the world of basketball. I think it's kind of, they just get sucked into this whirlpool and they see their peers doing it and everybody feels like they have to. And then at the same time, they want to be impressive to other people. So they want to give away and, here's this, fancy gifts and all that, but they don't really understand how the numbers really break down. And the number that you sign for isn't always what ends up in your bank account at the end of the day, and nobody seems to get that. And LeBron was one of the people, and the people that he had with him, his team, they understood that.
Yeah.
And they were able to control that need, that want to give away and just buy so much stuff. And that's a huge point in the show. We touch on that often.
Yeah, often.
Very, very often.
And it's a really important, it's an important theme.
It is, and it's extremely important.
Because we've talked about one too many, whether it's Terrell Owens or it's Antoine War. I think the big problem is that, all right, so you get a whole bunch of money, like Cam does when he goes to Atlanta. You get a whole bunch of money, and then you start living at a certain level. And I think what guys don't understand is that when the career is over, and ultimately it will be over, you can't still live at that same level if you haven't put dough away.
Exactly. And a lot of times the level that they choose is blowing all the dough that they've just earned. So then there's nothing to have put away. And then, all of a sudden you have this $10 million house and you have $5 million in cars and all this jewelry and all this clothes and everything, but you have no money to sustain it, even if the house is paid for.
Right.
Maintaining a $10 million house is extremely expensive.
Sure.
If you're out of money already, then what are you going to do? You're going to go broke. You're going to have to get rid of everything that you've spent so much money on.
Now, I was reading that one of the things you had to do, one of the things the producers asked you to do, because you were in one article described as a scrawny 6'1" kid, and you're supposed to be, a big time baller in the NBA. So you had to go through this kind of physical transformation. Talk about that.
Oh yeah, it was 7.5 weeks before our shooting date, and they called me and asked me if I'd be willing to gain weight and start training, with professional trainers who train athletes, that kind of thing. So I was all for it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. They put me on a meal plan. It was 7 to 8 meals a day. It was kind of outrageous, the calorie count that I had to have, but I could replace some with protein bars and protein shakes, but it was constant.
And working
out every single day. I was working out before the show, but it was a completely different style of exercise. Now it's more of resistance training, and everything is designed to make you look like a professional basketball player.
Right.
There's certain things that they would just focus on more than others, just to give me the appearance. But it was every single day.
And was it basketball? Long. Did you go through basketball drills?
No. I didn't go through any.
Because we really don't see you
play basketball.
Exactly. I mean, that's the interesting part of the show. it's really everything around Cam's career as opposed to what is happening on the court. And in my experience, as a sports fan, I look at movies and sometimes I say, that does not look. That's not really the way it looks. And I think this show's smart because it avoids that altogether.
It does, and that's a lot of Maverick and Mike O'Malley's doing. They want people to focus on something other than the game for once. They want to have a show about basketball where you never see the main character play basketball. It's about the lifestyle. It's about this family going through this entirely new adventure. That's what the show is about. It's not about. They tell you how good Cam is.
Sure.
You don't need to see him.
No, I got an idea.
Over.
Cam can really play.
Right. You don't need to see
in
him
your head.
Hit
Do you have
three.
an NBA player in your head that? Is it LeBron?
It's a lot of LeBron.
Yeah.
There's a lot of LeBron in the back of my head.
Who doesn't want to be LeBron?
Exactly. Who doesn't want to be LeBron? There's a lot of him there. When I was first studying, and I was kind of like learning about the character, I picked up a lot from Stephon Curry too, just because he's one of my favorite players, but also Kevin Durant, because he's from the same area as me. I hear a lot of great things about him.
You're from D.C.?
I'm from Maryland.
From Maryland.
I'm from Maryland.
He's a D.C. guy or something.
Yeah, well, he's right
in that area, right? Yeah.
Exactly, and we're kind of hoping he comes home. Come on, Durant, come on.
Yeah, but he's coming. He's coming here in 2016. We've already.
Really?
We've already charted the course where he comes to the Lakers in 2016.
I don't know. I heard a little bird talking about he wanted to come to the Wizards, so we're kind of hoping.
Well, we've got a couple years to debate that.
We'll see.
We're gonna find. We're gonna find out. Everybody loves Durant. Everybody loves Durant. So I'm curious about a couple of the storylines that. I know they weren't. I've read that they were not planned.
Right. Yeah.
But there's this sort of weird overlap with what happens in real life or what's happening in real life. So there's a storyline where there's some old, videotape of Cam and Reggie smoking some weed,
right,
and saying some derogatory things about Chinese people,
right.
Now, figure into that mix that, the Danny Ferry story broke at kind of the same time where he spoke about Luol Deng as being too African, I believe was the way that was phrased. So here it is. Did you know when you were shooting this that story was out there?
We had no idea. We shot that was the first episode that we shot, and that was months ago. But you also gotta realize that episode, the pilot episode, was written maybe even 6 months before we shot it.
Yeah.
And nothing really changed. There was some small things, but as far as the main plot of the story, that piece of the story was in there.
Was there
a year ago almost.
Yeah.
And then it just so happens that when the show comes out, it just aligns with something that's so big in the media. And it's the same thing with the next episode with the Hot Wheels track. And then, you have all this talk of domestic violence going on, and beating your children and this and that. And then the episode drops a week later.
In fact, Cam's mom says on a red carpet that she used to, did she say beat? How did she phrase it?
She said whoop.
Whoop.
Yeah, she said whoop.
Cam.
Right.
And then that sort of becomes a gigantic story, and it's happening at approximately the same time as the Adrian Peterson story is going on.
Within like a week within the Adrian Peterson story, and we talked a lot about that. The timing of that, it kind of blew our minds as much as it blew the viewers' minds. It seemed like we had that episode, and then we were like, oh, this is the perfect time to release it, but that wasn't, that wasn't how it was at all. It was outrageous how amazingly timed that was, and it just so happened to be at the misfortune of
Did the show kind of get a boost from those coincidences?
Oh yeah. Everyone kind of wanted to know, like, is there something that the people of Survivor's Remorse know that we don't know? And it's like, no, we kind of just got lucky.
Yeah. It's and to me that's sort of the aspect of the show that I find the most interesting is, covering professional athletes for a long time. We see certain things and know certain things that we don't necessarily talk about.
Right.
And now they're happening on this TV show.
Right.
Which seems to be capturing kind of what the life of a professional basketball player is really all about. We hear, guys supporting their families. That's like a really common thing. And where do you sort of cut off? Where do you say, okay,
exactly.
Where do you say, no, I gave you that's enough? That's one of the things that the story deals with. Are you a big basketball fan?
I'm a basketball fan. I'm not as big as others may be. Like, I know if there's going to be a really good game, I will definitely try to sit down and watch the whole thing. I'm that guy. If it's
so who do you like? Who do you like to watch? You mentioned Durant.
I love to watch Durant.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite players. I also love to watch D Rose.
Yeah.
So I mean, whether he's in Chicago,
he's going to stay healthy this year?
I hope so, man. Yeah. Oh, my fingers are crossed for him.
It's such a sad thing if he doesn't, because when they added Pau Gasol to that mix, and Pau's just a great player, and he's great,
and
there.
they can be great together. And it's, I'm really hoping so, because in my opinion, he's one of the best players in the league, and he's got one of the best teams this season.
You mentioned Steph Curry. I actually picked Golden State to go to the NBA Finals.
And who'd you pick for the East?
I picked Cleveland, and now now I'm looking at it saying, what? I'm not sure what's in that soup. That soup isn't adding up.
Don't sleep on them, man. I feel like they need a moment to wake up, but once they do,
what people don't forget. What people forget is that when Miami originally put the super
big
team
three together, it was not as great as you thought it would be.
They came out of the box like 8 and 10.
Yeah,
it took a while. I mean, you can't just throw everybody together and hope
expect it to gel right away. You
exactly.
Just can't. But I think that's the same thing that's going to happen with Cleveland. I said before when LeBron first made the announcement that he was going back, I was like, oh, Cleveland's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be a force to be reckoned with right now.
Yeah.
But in a year.
Oh, yeah, no. It's going to start adding up.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's still going to start. They may not be the 1 seed in the East. I mean, maybe Chicago's the 1 seed, but I think they're right there.
Don't leave the Wizards out. The Wizards are in.
No, actually, the Wizards are very sneaky good team.
And they snuck up on us last year.
I love that backcourt. The backcourt is they got it going on.
Oh yeah, man.
John Wall is
he's an animal.
He's a monster.
He's been an animal for a while, and I think it's his time.
Is it basketball fans who watch Survivor's Remorse, or is it a broader audience than just basketball fans?
It's incredibly broad. I mean, there's people that are incredibly into the show that never watch basketball, and that's because luckily we have a great marketing team, and they can reach out, and the show is not so much focused on the game of basketball, so it's relatable to a lot of other kinds of people. So you have these people who always wanted to know what it's like to be rich and famous, and now they get to just watch the show and they get to see exactly how
what?
it is.
It's not, in fact, the show that it reminds me of in a roundabout way is Entourage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's this element of, Vince becomes a movie star, and then his friends are sort of with him along for the ride. And that's really what's going on here with Cam. I mean, his family and his cousin and
absolutely
everybody's sort of in on it, and Cam becomes kind of the family business.
Right. That's exactly it. And we've heard that, that relation countless amounts of times.
Do you watch Entourage?
I watched it a little, maybe season 1, a little bit of season 2.
The thing ran for 8 seasons. So seriously, you only stuck with it for 1 or 2 seasons?
Yeah, so we don't have a problem with people relating it to Entourage. Hopefully we have a run, like theirs.
That, right.
Exactly, because that would be ideal. But from what I know about the show Entourage, and then also being on Survivor's Remorse, I can see exactly how, Cam could be the Vince of Survivor's Remorse.
Now, you're, as an actor, I guess this is your big break, right?
Oh yeah. Before this, I did a film called When the Game Stands Tall. It was a feature film about
very good film. Was that the Jim Caviezel?
Yeah, that was the Jim Caviezel one about the De La Salle Spartans up in Northern California.
Right. It came out in August.
And then before that, I was a regular on this show called Level Up on Cartoon Network. But neither one of those projects reached this broad of an audience. So, I felt like Level Up was kind of like a breakout for me, and then I felt like When the Game Stands Tall was also a breakout, but then now Survivor's Remorse is like a new plateau, and it's like a even bigger breakout.
What made you want to become an actor in the first place?
My sister was an actress.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was an actress. She did like pageants and all this other kind of stuff too, but seeing her do commercials and whatever else she was involved in, I was just kind of little brother that followed her around everywhere. She went outside, I went outside. If She was on a commercial set. I wanted to be on a commercial set.
So you were like her shadow, and you...
I was sort of like her shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was a lot of my own doing or if she kind of just drugged me along, because I see a lot of pictures where she's like holding me like, come on, and I'm like, all right. But I think it was a little bit of both. I kind of just got sucked into it, with her being already involved.
So Cam and his family come from a rough neighborhood. They come from... a neighborhood where, drugs and violence and gun violence and...
Oh, yeah, they come from Dorchester. There's all kinds of issues.
So how does that compare to your upbringing? Like, what were your growing up years like?
I was very fortunate. Both of my parents were well established. They both worked for the government in Maryland and D.C. They had been doing that for a while. By the time I was even, getting brewed up, they had already, they went to a nice neighborhood. They bought a nice house. My sister was already a part of the...
So would you describe yourself as middle class, upper middle class?
I would say about middle class.
Middle class?
Yeah, I would say about middle class, when I was coming up. And then it just transcended from there. My parents were always extremely hardworking, made sure I had everything that I always wanted. I had great education.
Mom and Pop stayed together?
Oh, yeah. Mom and Pop still together.
Yeah?
They're still together, yeah. And
so you've got, in real life, you've got a big advantage over sort of the life that Cam comes from.
Oh, yeah, over the life that Cam comes from. Cam was raised by a single parent. He never really knew his dad.
Funny single parent.
Yeah. She's amazing.
And by the way, there's another similarity with LeBron.
Right, exactly.
His mom, I think his mom is named Gloria, I think, right? And she's a little she's big, right? She's big. She's a big personality.
From what I hear, I've never met her, but from what I hear, she is sort of a lot like Cassie Calloway in the sense that LeBron's a big dude. You kind of have to be big, even if you're not big physically.
Yep.
Something has to be big about you for you to keep a guy like that under control. And I think she did a great job, and that's what Cassie is sort of the same.
So the great news is, and again the season finale of Survivor's Remorse is this Saturday on Starz. It's 9:00.
Yes.
Across America.
Across America, wherever you're at.
Now you've got, I don't know how much, are you making a bunch? You're probably making more money than when you were doing the Cartoon Network now. This is a significant show, right?
Yeah, a little bit more. I got like $4 or $5 on me.
There you go. But if you hit it big right now, because it's already been picked up for a second season, 10 more episodes. If you hit it big, have you learned something from Cam about how to deal with your personal finances?
I kind of, like my parents are both very business savvy.
Okay.
And, I learned a lot from them before this even came up. Like, we kind of had a plan already. There's a lot of talk of a plan in Cam's life, too, with Reggie. He says, we stuck to the plan before this. We have to stick to the same plan now. And that's kind of how it is for me. I kind of have everything figured out for the most part. Of course, there's going to be variables here and there.
Yep.
But as far as it goes, I could never do another job this big again, and I have an idea of where I'm going to go with it, or I can do 5 to 10 multi-million-dollar films right after this.
I don't even know what the hell I'm doing tomorrow. You've got a plan. You've got this whole thing laid out. I'm just trying to get through the day. Man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, on a day-to-day basis, then I'm right on the same page with you.
Right.
But if I had to look like 10 years down, no matter where it's gonna go, like I kind of have an idea of how I'm gonna take care of things.
Right. The season finale Saturday. I've seen it.
You've seen it. See, I haven't even seen it. So
so I don't want to spoil the stuff, because there's some really good. There's some good stuff in it. Can you say anything if they're hanging on the show and they're waiting for the season finale? Can you say anything about it without giving it away?
The season finale, Survivor's Remorse, for me, changed the entire dynamic of the show. I will say that. There's a lot that I had fell in love with, throughout that first 5 episodes that I was really attached to, and then I read the 6th episode, and it just blew my mind clean out of my head. I was lost for words, and it changed so much about Cam. It changed so much about the relationships between Cam and other people in the
Reggie.
show. And
Reggie, it's like
exactly.
really does kind of turn that show on its head.
It flips everything upside down.
Yep.
And at the same time, I was kind of confused at why they took such a huge jump, and made such this crazy turnaround. And I went and I talked to Victor Levin, who's also a producer on the show, and he wrote that episode. And he was saying, he was like, you know what? There is no relationship as strong as Cam's and Reggie's that hasn't had this kind of I don't want to give away too much, but that hasn't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's no relationship that strong without having weak points.
Yeah,
like this, and it made perfect sense. And I started thinking about people that I'm extremely close to and what we've been through, and it has to be the same for everyone else. And that's why they really wanted to shake things up this much. You know what I mean? They make you fall in love with these bonds and these characters, and then they shake the entire world up and watch you. And let you watch how things. And
it also gives
out.
you, because the dynamics change so much in the season finale, gives you really somewhere to go in season 2.
Oh yeah, I mean we had this much space, for the first season to go, and then they did this to us, and it's just like continuously growing,
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, there's really nothing that these guys can't do. So
yeah. Well, listen, it is a great show.
Thank you.
I originally, I'll just tell you. So I originally just watched the season finale because I knew you were coming in, and then I was like, no, this season finale is great. So I went back to the beginning
and watched
and I just rattled through the episodes. It goes, it moves really fast. It's really funny.
Yeah.
You get away with stuff on this show that you would never get away with on
but
another
it's
channel.
Truthful though.
Oh, it's real.
It's so real.
Well, I mean, it's the way the way I talk normally is probably
it's different.
Yeah, it is totally
exactly,
different than Mr. Interview.
Exactly.
Guy.
And that's how it is for everyone. Everyone's different in their house, in the comfort of their home.
Yep.
And that's what Michael Malley, that's like a huge point to him. He's like, you know what, these guys are real people. They make real mistakes. They say real things. They're also new to this lifestyle. So they're going to be just as real at times when they probably should put on a front, but they don't know the difference yet.
Yeah.
And it's no fun to have the audience watch a polished family already.
Sure.
So they're raw.
So when does the season 2, when will it actually air? When are you shooting?
We're gonna be shooting spring of next year. We're not sure when it's gonna air yet. I'm hoping for right around the same time that the season 1 aired, but of course next year. We don't want to have people wait too long,
right?
So we're on it already. I mean, the writers' room is already kicked up, and we're ready to go.
Well, if you're listening right now, watching right now, just know that all the episodes are available on demand. I'm assuming Stars on demand, so you can go and
Stars
catch
Play,
up.
Yeah.
And if you've been on the show, Saturday night, 9 o'clock is the season finale. And Jesse, thank you very much for coming in. Really, really appreciate it. Great meeting you, man.
Yeah,
great
nice meeting you too. Thanks, Steve.
Cam Calloway and the superstar athlete and the way it all unfolds on Survivor's Remorse, Jesse Usher, the star. And thanks a lot for listening to the Venice Maze Podcast. Thanks, man.